Right. Good afternoon, all. Thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Will. I'm a part of the sales team here at Coral Expeditions, not based up in Cairns. I'm down in sunny but pretty chilly Brisbane at the moment, and you've joined us hopefully to have a chat about all things to do with our 5 itineraries that make up the New Guinea and Micronesia expedition cruise series. Um, any questions that you've got throughout this presentation, please feel free to put them into the chat function on your computer. And myself and Carol, who I'll introduce you to shortly, will do our best to answer them at the end of the presentation. I try and keep things to around the 45-minute mark. Okay, so apologies if I do go a little bit over. We've got loads of specific itineraries and highlights to cover, but I'll do my level best to keep it to that 45-minute mark. So just moving forward, so for many of you who are joining us today, you might have cruised with Coral Expeditions before. If that's the case, you're going to be more than aware of the type of travel that Coral offers, be that in the Kimberley, other domestic expeditions, and also internationally. But for those of you who are, thinking about joining Coral for maybe their first trip, just a bit of an overview of who we are and how we operate. So, look, in short, for 40 years, Coral Expeditions has operated with a single purpose to take small groups of like-minded explorers to really remote places and wilderness areas, both domestically and internationally, with expert guidance and warm Australian hospitality. Again, for those of you who have cruised with us before, you'll be well aware of the type of expedition experience and onboard experience that we offer our guests. But for those of you who are new to us, across the Coral Expedition fleet, no matter the destination, domestic or international, we offer an informal onboard experience with no dressing for dinner, no assigned seating, and no formal onboard entertainment outside our schedule of presentations and lectures specific to the areas in which we cruise. If you're looking for private butlers, casinos, nightclubs, white jacketed waiters, then the Coral product is probably not what you're looking for. The truly stunning destinations we visit are the main focus of any expedition itinerary, rather than the ship itself, a very different prospect to some of the big ship cruise lines out there. Our ships are flagged and crewed by Australians, admittedly with a few Kiwis snuck on board, and we encourage an informal Australian style of service and an open interaction between guest and crew. So, we encourage you to jump onto the bridge and, have a chat with the captain. And like I say, it's that laid back, informal onboard experience, but very much focused on the destinations that we visit rather than the ship itself. As mentioned, we run a full schedule of guest lectures from our guest lecturers and our expedition team on board, tailored to the to the specific areas in which we travel. So they might be, flora, fauna, marine life, geology, history, cultures of the regions in which we travel. The whole ethos being that we arm you before we visit these sites, so you have all of the information to truly kind of maximize the experience on board. Some of our expert guides have been with us for decades. If you've cruised with us in the Kimberley or beyond, you might recognize Ian Morris up on the screen there, been with us probably close to 20 years now, or Jamie Anderson, one of our most experienced expedition team, again, who's been with Coral for 20 years. The reason I flagged that is, like I say, you are accompanied on all of our shore excursions, traditionally 2 a day, by a truly top quality team. And then we complement our expedition team with applicable guest lecturers, Carol, who I will introduce you to shortly, being one of them for our PNG and Micronesia series. Again, if you cruised with Coral before, you're going to be more than aware of our Explorer tenders. They are an absolutely unique to Coral Expeditions product, and we've designed and built these to allow our guests to truly explore the diverse regions in which we travel. They provide the perfect conduit between the ships and the remote regions we visit, and crucially, no other cruise line, global or domestic, can offer anything similar. The key selling points, up on the screen, the ability to on and off board our entire ship's complement in under 15 minutes with no steps or ladders involved. Again, crucially, this means there's no waiting time for you on shore excursions. Very different from some of the big ship cruise lines out there. And crucial, you've paid a lot of money to experience these kind of remote wilderness areas. You don't want to be waiting your turn. And on the 2 vessels that we utilize for this upcoming cruise series, we have 2 explorer tenders on each ship. And it allows you to maximize your time in the stunning destinations, like I say, that you've spent, considerable amount of money to go and experience. Some of the other key highlights, they've got padded seats and a sunroof, crucial in the hot tropical sun and occasional thunderstorms that you're probably going to get. And again, on our shore excursions, they can be 2, 3, 4 hours long. And do you want to be sitting on the side of a Zodiac with no back support and no protection from the elements? Probably not. So they are the perfect conduit between our kind of motherships and some of the remote regions in which we sail. They've got a full audio system on board, again, crucial, so our expedition team can keep you, posted on any of the wildlife or history, of the places in which we cruise. And crucially, an onboard toilet might not sound particularly important, but, nature calls for all of us. And instead of regular trips back to the mothership to take toilet breaks, or having to, jump into the water or find, a suitable bush in which to hide through, it just gives you that convenience that we're not interrupting, your valuable time experiencing these areas by toilet breaks back to the ship, basically. And crucially, on this particular series of cruises, which are very kind of marine focused, snorkeling and scuba diving options, they provide the perfect snorkel and dive platform to again maximize the water/marine opportunities, of which this cruise series has multiple opportunities. So a real point of difference between Coral and any other cruise line. But it would be wrong not to let you know that we do complement all of our trips, be they in the Kimberley and domestic regions and our international voyages. All of our fleet combine our explorer tenders with the more traditional Zodiac inflatables. So you guys get to make your own mind up, how adventurous or expedition-y you want to be in any of the regions. So on all of our ships, on all of our itineraries, domestic and international, we have our unique explorer tenders, but we complement them with the Zodiacs as well. So on to the ships. So the 2 ships that we utilize for this particular cruise series, and again, if you've cruised with Coral before, you're going to be very aware of both Coral Adventurer and Coral Geographer coming. There are 2 newest ships to the Coral fleet. So Coral Adventurer was launched in late 2019 and has a maximum of 120 guests on board. All of our cabins are en suite and outward facing. Many of them, as you can see from the photo, have private balconies, and there's a large range of both indoor and outdoor kind of recreational space. So when you do get a little bit of spare time, which is relatively rare because we are on excursions, frequently throughout the day, there's plenty of places both inside and out that you can kind of sit back, enjoy the vistas over a cheeky GT or equivalent. You'll see off the back of the ship there, the Explorer tender. The kind of blue kind of construction on the back there is the, I suppose, the winch, which allows us to kind of raise and lower the Explorer tenders direct off the back of the ship. I've got a little video later which shows the kind of boarding process, much better than my kind of verbal description. But just to point that out. Coral Geographer, the second ship that we use for this particular cruise series in 2024. This is our newest vessel in the fleet and was launched in late 2021, so only two and a half years old or so. It's the sister ship to Coral Adventurer, practically identical. Maximum 120 guests on board, again, all en-suited, all outward facing cabins, loads of private balcony options if you so desire, and those are the 2 ships that we are going to utilize for this particular cruise series. Again, I'm not going to go into too much details on the vessels. If you want ship layouts, a massive range of images, both inside and out, video clips, all that additional information, jump on the website. There's a massive range of information for you to peruse to your heart's content. This is just a really short, 1.5 minute video, which really shows both the explorer tenders and the boarding process, and the kind of guest experience on board. So have a little look at the video, and then we'll kick off with the particular itineraries. Fantastic. So look, that just gives you a little snapshot of actually filmed in the regions that we're going to be discussing very shortly. But it shows you the really easy on and off boarding procedures. Again, for our kind of particular demographics, and our kind of sweet spot with Coral Expeditions is the 55, 60 plus kind of age demographic. You don't want to be wrangling rope ladders or multiple steps to get on and off board off the ship, which we do, frequently throughout the day. So a really easy on and off boarding. We can do it in under 15 minutes for all the guests on board. You saw the attending zodiacs as well. So it's the best of both worlds, basically. And you can pick and choose, like I say, depending on your particular requirements, whether or not you want to jump aboard a zodiac or jump aboard one of our unique explorer tenders. So look, we move on to the main event. Basically, we're lucky enough to have Carol Kidu. I hope I've pronounced that right, Carol. And to give her full title, it's Dame Carol Kidu, joining us today to give us a bit of her extensive insight into PNG and the surrounds. Look, Carol has lived in PNG for more than 50 years. She's actually dialing in from Port Moresby as we speak. So apologies if we've got any kind of internet issues at all. Look, Carol was a politician for 15 years or so in PNG, 9 as a government minister. She even led the opposition for a couple of years, I believe, and received the Order of Australia this year, I believe. So congratulations on that, Carol. She's got too many honorary doctorates, from both Australian and PNG universities to mention. And so, look, in short, Carol is the perfect example of a Coral Expedition guest lecturer, and we'll be providing us an overview today of some of the PNG highlights across the multiple itineraries we're covering. So welcome, Carol. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Okay, thank you, Will, and good afternoon to everyone, or I'd say Adore Namona or Apirun Tuolgeta. The 3 languages of Papua New Guinea are English, Pidgin, and Motu language. I married into the Motu tribal group over 54 years ago, and so I've been here a long time, but I'm now a dual citizen. And I will say before we start that I've traveled on Coral Expedition cruising on several occasions, and I thoroughly enjoy it, and it's the best you can have. I've also been on some of the large cruise ships with thousands of people and lots of onboard entertainment. And I've been on the World, the ship called the World, traveled with that, but nothing can compare with Coral Expeditions. So you're making a right choice if you choose Coral Expeditions.
Well, love that comment, Carol. Thank you very much. But look, thank you for the intro. We're going to move on to our first featured itineraries, guys. So we've got the first one we're focusing on today, the frontier lands of Papua New Guinea. So it's a 12-night Cairns to Madang and vice versa, Madang to Cairns, departing in December later this year. So perfect if you want to spend Christmas or New Year's afloat, visiting, a truly special part of the world. So we're just going to jump through a few of the highlights, which Carol is going to take the lead on. So look, over to you, Carol, for the first highlight.
Okay, are we moving on? Where is going to be the first highlight?
It should be up on your screen, Carol.
I've only got a map on my screen.
Is it up there now?
I've got the map on my screen. There, yes, the bubbling reefs.
There we go.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I've never ever snorkeled over the bubbling reefs because I don't snorkel, I swim. But while the people are snorkeling over the bubbling reefs, and I tell you, they thoroughly enjoy it. I'm off on shore, either at Day Day Hot Springs or in the Day Day Mission Station or something like that, mixing in with the people. So the point is, you have plenty of choice. And quite often, as we travel on Coral Expedition cruises, there'll be two offerings at the same time. So the people who are snorkelers and underwater people have their choice. Also, people who want to go on land and do the land work, it's there as well. The hot springs are very well known. And so it's near reef at Dobu Island. Dobu Island, I bet you tell me to shut up when I have to, Will. Dobu Island, Dobu is a very fascinating place for we Papua New Guineans. Dobu Island is infamous for its witches, who are believed to be extremely powerful in the traditional psyche of people here. Dobu women are quite feared. But you won't have to worry about those things at all. I've got some good friends on Dobu if we actually go and land on Dobu Island, which we quite often will do on these cruises. The cruises will vary because it depends on many things happening on shore, things happening with weather. And if there's something on shore like a death or something when we cannot really intrude, well, there'll be a quick change onto something else. But most likely we will go into Dobu Island as well and maybe to the school.
Thank you.
Okay. This is a very famous Trobriand Islands. Trobriand Islands were called the Islands of Love. Unfortunately, it's been very misconstrued. Malinowski did a lot of anthropological work there. And with Kuiawa, the village there, they usually put on spectacular dancing. Although I will say the last time I was there, they had just finished a funeral ceremony, and so it was quite subdued. And at the village, as you go through, you will find that the Trobriand Island carvers are the master carvers of Papua New Guinea, along with the Sepik carvers. Tami Island, fairly well known, but the master carvers of Papua New Guinea are the Sepik and the Trobriand Islands. And here you would have an opportunity, if you're wanting to buy, to look at some superb ebony and rosewood carvings, really, really skillfully done with inlaid pearl, mother of pearl work and everything. I would encourage you, if you do have the means, I mean, we all have different means and I don't have a lot of means, but if you do have the means, do bring some money to spend, because this is really often the only cash income for the people in these remote areas. And so they really look forward to the cruise ships coming in because it is their only cash income. So if you can afford to, I will be there to advise you whether that will go through customs or it won't go through customs. I can tell you that very clearly. And the people themselves have learned that over time too, what not to do and what to do in terms of what they put out for visitors from different parts of the world. Yeah. The Trobriand Island dancing is very erotic, and they love you to join in. Yes, go on. We're going to the Tufi now.
There we go.
Yeah, the fjords of Tufi area, lots of different things could happen there. It'll vary according to what the village is offering, according to what the ship's cruise director has asked of village people. But you're sure to have a ride on an outrigger in the Tufi Fjord area. It's a drowned coastline, if you're geographers, a rear coastline. and extremely deep in many areas. Very beautiful area, and we'll probably climb up the hill, quite a steep climb, up a road up to the Tufi resort if there's time, and that's also quite interesting. We'll probably go into the McLaren Harbour. It comes up again later, and we might see tattooing displays and various activities occurring. There's usually cultural experiences when we go into the Tufi areas. They're very famous for their dancing and for their spectacular headdresses and the tapa cloths. The tapa cloths, they are the famed area in Papua New Guinea for tapa cloths. Papua New Guinea, of course, is a land of many, many people. It's over 800 languages and tribal cultural groups. I've been here 54 years. I would not pretend to understand Papua New Guinea. Some people come in for a very short time and they know it all, but I don't pretend to understand Papua New Guinea. And I'm certainly not an academic expert, but I have some knowledge from a lot of extensive experience. But it is a very complex country in terms culturally, linguistically, and things like that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Exciting place to come to. This is at the mouth of the Sepik River, Kopar village. And you won't necessarily see this, but you will see something else maybe. This is the dragon dance. It's very spectacular. And it's at Kopar village. And I often wonder when I see it, where it has come from. It's obviously, I think, it's not, the dress and costuming is typically Papua New Guinea, but it's like a dragon dance of the Asian part of the world as well. It's quite fascinating. And I've never quite worked that out. But yeah, you may see the dragon dance, you may not. You may see another cultural experience, but the costuming will be spectacular. Here, there will be people bringing out artifacts as well. And so that's interesting. If we go on to Lababia village is on the north coast. An interesting village. They do quite a lot of conservation work with turtles, tree kangaroos. They've been having projects in the area of conservation work. Quite remote. It doesn't have road contact with other parts of PNG, so they really appreciate the cruise ships coming in. And sometimes you'll go on a little cruise up a nearby river into the river area as well. There's all sorts of different activities that can occur. So I can't say this will happen or this won't happen, but there will be plenty of things happening. I think I can assure you of that. Last time I was at Lababia, it was the old widows were dancing. I found it fascinating.
Thank you. And look, I might just interject there, Carol. We've been cruising in PNG and the surrounds for many, many years now, guys. And the ship that you can see in the background there it's still sails with coral, but we keep it in domestic waters now. So again, you might have cruised on Coral Discoverer. It's our smallest vessel at only 72 maximum. But the two vessels we use in PNG now are the aforementioned one, Coral Adventurer and Geographer. So it's just an older image, but that's not the ship that you'll be going on. But over to you again.
Dragonhafen, yeah, everywhere you go, there will be opportunities for snorkeling and diving, and beautiful waters, and in almost all areas, coral and things in good condition. Unlike where I live, my late husband's people are from the capital city area of the country, and our reefs have largely been destroyed, sadly, by dynamite fishing and by people walking all over them. But in these areas you're going to, they're very remote. And so you still do have the beautiful underwater wonderland to experience. I do it with just little swimming goggles. I'm not a snorkeler. Okay. And this is Sepik, I would think, probably BN Village. I'm not quite sure. It's a Sepik markets because we don't go right up. We only stay in lower Sepik. And so I think this probably is BN, or it could be Copa. I'm trying to work out myself where it is. That's where someone is trying to purchase something and they're asking advice from me, whether what I thought about their purchase, etc. And I'll advise you about things that will not get through Australian customs if you want to take it. Most people like to take back some masks and things. People, again, the Sepik River has suffered terribly during COVID. because there was no tourist activity at all. And so the people are just now coming out of it, and they will, I would imagine, be extremely welcoming. For them, it'll be a great thing to have ships coming back again to visit and to be able to make a little bit of pocket money. The sad thing is, and I always find it very sad, there's so many people and you can only buy so much and then you leave. And that always affects me. I feel very sad for the ones that don't get anything bought. And I wish our government here would go into doing things like happen in Thailand, where they go and buy from the people out in the rural areas and sell in the capital cities. But that hasn't happened yet.
Thank you, Carol. And look, just rapidly on to our next kind of focused itineraries as part of this cruise series, the islands and atolls of Micronesia. So a little bit longer, 25 nights, Manila to Cavite, departing later this year. And look, this is a truly beautiful, true expedition cruise that focuses on the flora, fauna, marine life, cultures and archaeological sites of this really kind of remote island and atolls. Not many people go to some of these destinations. If you love snorkeling and diving, this is going to be the perfect, or one of the perfect itineraries, as you have the opportunity to snorkel or dive at almost every stop on this trip, from world famous lagoons to kind of remote biosphere reserves. Jump in, Carol. I know that the Micronesia, PNG is your kind of area of expertise, but Cresta de Gallo, one of the first and most beautiful kind of dive and snorkel sites that we offer on this particular cruise series. And then a real highlight is we have champagne and canapes as the sun sets right on the beach that you can see in front of you. Moving on to kind of Palau and Sohoton Cove, many of you, I'm sure, have probably seen on various Attenborough documentaries the golden jellyfish lakes, where they've been, trapped for millennia, kind of separated from the open ocean, I believe, and they rise and fall with the kind of rising and setting of the sun. They're completely harmless, and it's a really true highlight. You get to snorkel your way through these lakes, surrounded by literally tens of thousands, if not more, of these golden jellyfish, and again, completely harmless, and a true highlight of this particular section of this cruise series. Moving on to the kind of indigenous cultures of the region, so the ancient stone currency in Yap and some of the surrounding islands. Believe it or not, this was traditional currency, I suppose. These stone coins, for lack of a better word, vary in anything from 3 or 4 centimeters up to 4 meters wide, basically. And again, someone far better educated than me, gives you the full history and background to these cultures in this particular cruise series. So we all know that World War II, ravaged this area with the Japanese invasion, and then the American / Australian / British kind of liberations, I suppose, as the war ebbed and flowed. So there is, a massive range of, underwater military equipment, as you can see on the screen there. Some of it can be viewed by snorkelers just floating along, but I think to get the best of it, particularly this one in Chuck Lagoon, you've got to be scuba dive qualified. I'll come on to the scuba at the end. It's already a question that someone has submitted, but if you've got your scuba qualifications, there is just an amazing range of underwater life, not just the marine flora, fauna, and corals, but you've got this World War II history, and this is a repeating theme across many of the destinations on these cruise series that we're focusing on. So look, in the Philippines, obviously a highly Catholic area, as I'm sure we all know now. This was one of the highlights of early in the trip. Basically, you get, if so inclined, you've got 450 steps up to what was the very first crucifix erected. It was the start of the Catholic, what's the word? The Catholic, I suppose, influence over the Philippines, basically. So it represents, day one of Catholicism spreading in the Philippines, and just one of the little kind of expeditions, excursions that we do in the Philippines. So the lost city of Nan Madol, it's known as the kind of Venice of the Pacific. Whilst I haven't been there personally, I've seen many images, and there's a massive range, a plethora of kind of ocean man-made canals, basically. Hence the Venice of Pacific name. And again, we have multiple hours spent in this pretty epic archaeological site, Nan Madol, on Pohnpei Island. So moving rapidly on, because again, we don't have too much time to go into too much detail. As mentioned earlier, please jump onto the website if you're interested. We've got full detailed itineraries. We've got loads of video clips, that type of thing, and you can educate yourself to your heart's content on either itineraries that you've booked on or that are thinking of joining us with. But moving on to the next one, and back to you, Carol, the Forgotten Islands of PNG. Again, it's 12-night trip departing in early December this year, Cavayang to Cairns. So over to you, Carol.
Yes, thanks, Will. Cavayang is the capital of New Ireland province. We have 22 provinces in Papua New Guinea, and it's a capital there. And most famous for the fire dance, the image there. And you will have the opportunity, most likely, to go inland a bit to the Binding people. It's danced by the Binding tribal group, not the coastal Cavayang people. And it's quite spectacular to see this fire dance in Cavayang. They actually, keep going. And again, here, Jacquinot Bay, again, snorkeling, plenty of opportunity to snorkel, and you'll have plenty of people gather around and watch you and be friendly, and they just love having visitors. And so there'll be people around. So if you start to drown, they'll be in to get you out as well. Although we have plenty of spotters on the ships as well to make sure nobody gets into trouble when you're out swimming. I often spend my time being lazy and being a spotter instead of swimming myself. But do expect people to come around and be around. Kuiawa Island, it was in an earlier slide. The famous young girls in the Trobrians with the short mini skirts. Many areas of Papua New Guinea, the women's grass skirts, or they're not really grass, but they're women's skirts down to the knee at least. Certainly my husband's tribal group, you never displayed your thighs. But with the Trobriand Islands, they're very well known for the mini skirts that the girls wear, the young women and the older women wear. Modesty is different in different cultures, and of course bare breasts are the norm in these remote areas, and don't even notice them. You might notice them, but I don't, not after 54 years here in dancing and going to dance groups. I had my own children learn the traditional dance, many traditional dances of Papua New Guinea, but again, there's more than you could possibly learn. But you'll find the kids, they'll be shy, but they'll love it if they interact with you. Cuscus, I've got cuscuses here in my house, but they're not native to here. I bought them off the street to stop them being killed. And I've got some cuscuses here. They're an adorable little creature, animal, soft fur. And I didn't realize the woodlark island cuscus is an endangered species, apparently. I noticed on this slide. Whether you see a cuscus or not, we don't know. Quite likely you might see one in one of the villages. But if you came to my place in Moresby, you could see 3 cuscus. Yeah, a male and 2 females. They're quite adorable. The traditional canoe carving, and you may not see canoe carving, just know that we are the land of the unexpected. There may be someone carving a canoe when we travel through, or there may not be. Another time we went through one area, they weren't carving canoes, but they were weaving the thatch roofs. And again, it was extremely interesting to see the weaving of the thatched roofs. So what you actually see will depend on what's happening at the time there, but there will always be things happening. And you'll find, very different from the urban area, villages are almost always spotless, so clean and spotless. I hope it's not changing. It has always been when I've been around before with coral expeditions, they've always been spotless. Whereas in the urban and peri-urban areas, villages now are quite sad to see. They've got plenty of rubbish and huge pollution problems. Yeah. Again, you'll soak up island lifestyle, and we'll, depending on what's happening at the time, I will be able to help you guide it through. I'll be able to talk with the people and see what's going on, as well as just your own observations. I know one area once with one of the islands, I said, how do you know this is a hardworking family? Can you work out how you know they're a very hardworking family? And eventually a couple of people picked up at it, that they're absolutely stacked firewood all under the house, that they spent, that they really had kept their firewood supplies up to scratch. But you'll be able to see women cooking, we'll be able to see all sorts of things, but I can't promise you anything because we are the land of the unexpected. But I can promise you I'll look after you. Again, snorkeling with Dobu Island. We saw that about Dobu before. Again, infamous or famous, I don't know which for it, witches and sorcery. Sorcery is very much still in the psyche of the people of Papua New Guinea, majority of the people. And if it's in the psyche, it exists. Although we might say, oh, what rubbish. If it's in a person's psyche, it exists. And there's still a very strong belief in sorcery and in the power of the ancestors to influence the living, all sorts of things. If you're interested in things like that, you could say, look, can you do a bit of a talk about that? If you want to let the expedition leaders know that we'd like to learn more about this or that, like traditional tattooing or scarification in the sea peak. Unfortunately, you will not probably see much scarification because it's more in the middle sea peak. But I could do some little lecture talks, not lectures. I'm not an academic. I'll say we could do a little talk about some of these things. Yeah, that's the Dobu Island area.
Thank you, Carol. And on to our penultimate little cruise series. So West Papua, Raja Ampat and Micronesia. So 16 nights Darwin to Guam and departing pretty soon in August 2023, and the same next year if you've got your holiday plans sorted for this year already. So look, similar to the islands and atolls of Micronesia, which I ran you through briefly just now. This cruise focuses on the stunning land and marine-based wildlife, indigenous cultures and history of the region, and again with a particular focus, excuse me, on water-based activities, including the world-famous Raja Ampat. So moving swiftly on. So Raja Ampat, you might be aware of this, Carol, yourself, but I had the privilege of visiting Raja Ampat a few years or so ago now, pre-COVID. I'm a keen scuba diver, have been lucky to dive from the Red Sea to the Maldives and beyond, and nowhere, and I underline nowhere, comes close to what I saw in Raja Ampat. Whether or not you're just a snorkeler, be that with goggles like Carol, or a proper snorkeler or a full scuba diver, the underwater coral and marine life in Raja Ampat is in my opinion, the best in the world. You can see from the geology or the famous beehives that it's a spectacularly beautiful part of the world above the water. But for those of you who, like I say, want paradise beaches, unspoiled marine life and corals, Raja Ampat is absolutely stunning. Can you handle this one, Carol?
I actually, the Kora canoes, I don't really know this area much at all. I've only been in the Indonesian world into Jayapura, not beyond there. So I really can't say very much about this, but it's obviously what it says, greeting the ship. I'm not from that. I haven't had any experience in that part. I went to longhouses in other areas.
I'll let you off. I think I included this slide more just to show, similar to some of the P&G itineraries, that it's a real focus on the, like I said, the indigenous cultures of the region, whether or not they be a greeting like you get here, or getting to visit various villages, purchase artifacts and art as required. Always going to be a feature of the Coral Expeditions product. So again, just an included slide. We encourage you to bring lots of money, and the villagers always like seeing you, because it's very rare, very remote regions in which we travel. They don't get the big ship cruise lines in there. They rarely get even the small ship expedition cruise lines. So, you've got the ability to visit local markets and buy some, very traditional local kind of wares to bring home with you. Helen Reef, you'll notice that photo was just a screenshot from the little video I played for you earlier, but I think Carol will be able to fill you in a bit more than me.
Helen Reef, I'm not sure of it myself, William, to be quite honest. Is it? Where is it?
It should be in
Where's Helen Reef?
It's on the islands outside PNG, but look, that's not a problem. So I included this one again because it just, and like I say, linked with the video that I played earlier, it just shows off the kind of shore excursion based around the kind of marine life that we do. So you've got the ship in the background. The explorer tenders provide that conduit between mothership and shore, and we really maximize your time. It's not about the ship, it's about getting to these tropical beaches. You can snorkel. The other explorer tender will take people off to do some scuba diving, as they're the perfect platform. But again, it's just a perfect example of a typical kind of day in the life of a trip through these kind of tropical paradise areas. And look, we move on.
Although you call it tropical paradise, under the image of paradise that we want to portray, I will give some actual reality to. It's not necessarily paradise. It is to us, and it looks like the idea of tropical paradise. But yeah, I hope people will go away with a deeper understanding of some of the complexities that people face in these areas. Yeah.
And that's why we get people like you on board, Carol, to provide that kind of background. For me, when I see pictures like that, the first thing that comes to mind is the stunning corals and picture postcard beaches. But absolutely acknowledge that there's deeper kind of meanings and to some of these what I would say paradise kind of destinations. But look, moving on to our final cruise series today, the full New Guinea circumnavigation. So look, it's 35 nights long, Cairns to Darwin, departing early next year. If you've got a little bit more time than some of those shorter cruise series, then boom, jump on board. And we're just going to run through some of the minimal highlights as we're running rapidly out of time. So just moving swiftly on, Carol, and we'll come to some questions at the end.
Yep. That's on the other side, of course, the Asmat warriors. And I've heard of them, read about them, but I don't have personal experience on the Asmat warriors here. I'm on the PNG side of this cruise.
Have you dived with the whale sharks, Carol? Yeah. So look, one of the highlights, be it in Raja Ampat or Kenda Wasi Bay, which I probably butchered the pronunciation there, so I apologise, is are the whale sharks basically. Some of the photos that were coming back from last year's Spice Islands trips that we also run were truly spectacular. Basically, they are the world's largest fish, completely harmless, obviously, and to get the opportunity, whilst we can't guarantee it, we make every effort to arrive at the right time and get you into the right place to snorkel or dive with these whale sharks. If we're lucky enough to do it, it will be probably the highlight of the entire ship. The entire cruise. So Bandanera Fort, are you aware of this one, Carol?
No, I've never been on that side. I get off the ship at Jayapura. I go from Cairns around and get off at Jayapura. I have traveled to some of those areas in my political career.
No worries at all. So this is, in West Papua. So again, very, very different to the PNG side that Carol is most familiar with. You'll be pleased to hear that we have, applicable guest lecturers and expedition teams on board. So you won't be relying on my personal knowledge, which is, limited onto when we go into the depth of West Papua, basically. But again, Indigenous cultures, always a focus, the history being in one of the forts there that you can see in the screen. Wherever we are with Coral Expeditions, it's always going to be a focus. And again, loads of traditional, Indigenous cultures. This is a welcome that they put on for the ship when we get there. Basically, I think it all harks back to the kind of, I suppose tribal warfare of the area. This is put on as a kind of demonstration, basically a welcome for when we turn up in the Trebi End Islands. And again, Tufi Fjord, I think we're back in your neck of the wood again.
Yes, we're back into this side. And again, that's another, we had a Tufi one before on outrigger canoes and things. And this is actually going up into the waterways in McLaren Harbour area. And most likely they will have gone up and landed on shore, then walked through very dense forest and things. And then there'll be another display there of dancing, tattooing, and various things happening. Although nowadays the women don't actually tattoo literally, they draw on and do a demonstration drawing on the patterns. That's probably all I say there, but it's all different, very different. Then we get to the areas of Buna and Sanananda, extremely hot, and it's a World War II history here in this area. We'll probably land on what they call Bloody Beach, and they called it Bloody Beach because of the horrific fighting that was held there, and the water was apparently, they tell us, just red with blood, which is quite sad. But you'll see some of those World War areas. They have small museums. Some people have little museums near their houses, and there are the official museum areas in this area of Buna and Sanananda. So if you're a war freak, you'd find that. Again, the Fly Islands, again with the bubbling reefs. I mean, we are on the Pacific Ring of Fire, and so the volcanic activities and seismic activities do show themselves by these things bubbling out from underneath in the ocean. I've never dived in the Fly Islands. Okay. Misol, I don't know where that is. Where is it, William?
The Gumdrop Islands,
is it on
apparently, Carol.
Not in PNG.
I put this slide in.
It's on the other side. It's on the other side. Yeah.
It's on the PNG and New Guinea circumnavigation, and I put this in because it's one of the places that we can go for a decent hike, basically, right up to the top of these kind of vistas. And I selected it purely because this circumnavigation or anywhere on this cruise series is not significant hikes involved, that type of thing, with the exception of here. So you've got a pretty steep climb basically up to just an absolutely beautiful viewpoint. And again, the snorkeling options, the scuba dive options here, as you can see from the beautiful water, are absolutely spectacular. And I thought it would be a good slide to finish with, because that kind of brings us to the end of our presentation. I'm aware that I've taken a little bit over the 45-minute schedule, so I do apologize for that. It's a large 5 cruise series to try and cover in a 45 minutes. So hopefully it just gives you a little bit of a snapshot of some of the kind of highlights of the region, basically. A few of you have been posting through some of the questions whilst we've been doing the presentation. So just firstly, one for you, Carol, and it's a bit of a free hit because it's generic. They're asking what the weather will be like. So maybe if you just focus on your area of expertise in terms of the kind of PNG side of it. So during that kind of Christmas period for us, what should they expect in terms of kind of climate?
For most of PNG, well, most of PNG is wet all year, and in some areas we have a wet and a dry, but you can expect it to be wet Yep, come ready for wet, but more afternoon showers. You're usually getting a full day's activities, and then the skies will open up in the afternoon. But hot, hot, hot. So come ready for hot, and come, of course, with plenty of sun cream and all of those things, hats, which we all know anyway. But it will be hot and most likely wet at sometimes.
Thank you
We
very
don't have any
much.
cold here, except in the mountains. Mm.
Thank you. Look, a couple that I can handle. So a couple of people have already asked about charter flights. So we're aware at Coral Expeditions that PNG can be reasonably logistically difficult, basically, and certainly some of the islands where we join or depart the ship. So Coral have put together charter flight options, which at an additional cost for you guys. Some of you who are booked on the ship will already be aware of this. But in Madang, so we do a Cairns to Madang and a Madang to Cairns. So we provide a charter flight in and out of Madang, depending on which section of the cruise you're in. So that comes at a cost of $1,450. I will point out that Coral does, makes absolutely no markup on these at all. We just provide the cost that the charter company provides to us. And if you're interested, I would, book onto these sooner rather than later. They do sell out. You're obviously welcome to make your own, travel arrangements as required. But we found, having run, these trips for well over 10 years,
Yeah.
that having that charter flight option is valuable. And we also do the same in Cavieng.
Yeah, Will, I'd also recommend taking the charter rather than trying to come through yourselves and go through all the rigmarole in Moresby and then onto a flight to Madang. Often flights are delayed, sometimes cancelled, and you could end up not getting here on time and things like that. We
Absolutely.
here, we're used to that. We're used to it. We put up with it, but you wouldn't want that to happen and ruin your cruise.
Look,
Yeah.
and yeah, absolutely agree with that. And like I say, we do these because of the experience we've had in this region, and highly recommend you jump on one of those charter flights, and then logistics are sorted
The
for you.
cost, Will, the
Yes.
cost to me sounds actually very reasonable compared with taking the internal flights, unless you have a reason why you want to come through internally. Yeah, it sounds like a very reasonable type of cost.
Yeah, well, look, flights, be they
Charter
domestic or international,
probably is. Yeah.
are pretty steep at the moment. But yeah, look, we just pass on the costs that we are quoted basically on those ones. Again, reach out to our reservation team or any of us, and we're more than happy to provide more information there. Look, just a couple more questions before we finish. So we made a big focus on scuba dive and snorkeling. All of the cruise series that we just covered just now have multiple opportunities to get into the water and see the marine life. Is snorkeling gear provided? Absolutely. At the beginning of every cruise, we'll provide you with your own snorkel gear. Basically, you do have to give them back at the end of the trip, but they're yours for the trip. In terms of scuba diving, someone's asked, is it included in the cost? No, it isn't. It's one of the very rare not included aspects of the trip, basically. If you are scuba divers, guys, and you have got at a minimum, the PADI open water or equivalent, please let us know at the time of booking, or please advise reservation if you have already booked. And that's just to ensure that we have the applicable equipment on board. And it does come at an additional cost. Is there Wi-Fi aboard? So 6 months or so ago, particularly in PNG and some of these more remote areas, I would be very, very hesitant to say yes. We've spent about $1 million in the last 6 months to bring Starlink, not that Elon Musk needs any more money, but the Elon Musk Starlink across our whole fleet now. Our onboard Wi-Fi, according to the crew on board, is now better than our head office Wi-Fi in Cairns. We include our standard Wi-Fi package as standard now. That's going to be absolutely adequate if you'd like to, post some photos or text your friends and family, that type of thing. If you're looking to download movies and stream videos, which, let's be honest, you're not going to have time for, you would need to upgrade to our premium level of Wi-Fi. Starlink can cope, like I say. The standard package, which is realistically all you're going to need included in the cost. If you do want that premium, it does come at an additional cost. And then just a couple more quick questions. Drone photography. I always get asked this one. The short answer is yes, you can use drones and drone photography, with the caveat that it needs to be, you need to get the permission of the captain on each particular ship. And there are certain national parks and areas that outright ban it for either kind of naturalist reasons, or if you're into a particular port or city, it just goes against kind of local government restrictions. So yes is the short answer, but you do need to get the buy-in from the captain in each particular location before you do it. And then the final question, guys, for today, is this coral expeditions, product, is it all inclusive? For those of you who have cruised with us before, you'll know whether or not we're in the Kimberley or domestic or internationally, the overwhelming bulk of the product is included. All of our shore excursions, that type of thing, obviously all of our meals, with the rare, so all of the drinks, alcoholic drinks I'm talking, with lunch and dinner service are included. Outside of lunch and dinner, so if you're enjoying a whiskey nightcap or G&T between lunch and dinner, yes, that's an additional cost. And like I say, scuba diving, which I just touched on earlier, but the absolute bulk of the expedition cruise product already included in the costs that you pay. I think I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. If there's any other questions, again, please feel free to reach out to our genuinely excellent reservation team on the Explore email, or that's the 1-800 number will take you straight through to them. Please go through your travel agent if that's who you're booking through as well. We work with both the multiple trade partners as well. And look, for those of you who are booked on one of the trips, hopefully we've got you excited and have provided, or probably Carol has provided, a little bit of kind of detailed knowledge into the areas in which you'll be going. And for those of you who are considering booking, hopefully one out of those 5 expedition itineraries is going to kind of get you on board. We would love to see you on board. And look, thank you very much again for joining us today. Apologies for going a little bit over schedule, and a massive thank you to you, Carol. I really appreciate your pretty obvious love of PNG and your considerable experience in the area. We're lucky to have you, and for those of the guests that are on the PNG sections, you're going to be in clearly capable and passionate hands. So thank you very much, Carol. Thank you to you all, and have a good rest of your day.